Hey.
That was the creepiest thing I've done in a long time. Everybody immediately just went next. Somebody's gonna run past us in 3, 2, 1 to get an ice cream sandwich.
Is that what that was? Oh, there goes moon pie again. What are we doing today?
Alright, so if you're new here, my name is Merina, like a boat dog, just spelled differently.
You know how to introduce me? This
is Shane,
Ted,
spelled like the
T-E-D.
bane of my existence, except with an SH at the beginning.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Shane is the chain that bindeth.
We do mobile home living, not in a trailer park in East Tennessee anymore, but we do mobile home living in the hills of East Tennessee, and we are on our way to make this double wide, this 32-year-old double wide, our mobile mansion, one area at a time. We were on a mission to make our... I'm going to set you down somewhere so I can do this intro. Okay. We were on a mission to make our single wide in the trailer park a mobile mansion, and we did just that, and I documented every bit of it here on the channel. We have now moved on to greener pastures.
I don't know. The drought is making sure it ain't very green right now.
Also, the cows next door really make it feel like a pasture. Now we live in this 30-year-old double wide. I was going to call it old, but seeing as it's the same age as me, we were literally born in the same year. I'm not going to call it old. I'm just going to say we live in this older double wide. And we're getting it done just like we did in the single wide. Our tastes are a little bit different these days, and we're trying new things, but we're getting the daggone thing done nonetheless. I've documented every bit of us transforming this place in a playlist. I will link down below. It's always linked in the description box of my videos, and it goes from start to finish. I say that because we are officially on episode 30 of our mobile home makeover series. So, just in this double wide. That doesn't count the single wide. We'd be on like episode 1000. So but we're on episode 30 in this double wide. So the playlist, it takes you back to the beginning, but this video catches you up to where we're at right now, real time in the makeover. We're doing a complete transformation, total transformation. This place already doesn't look like the same double wide. I mean, it's unbelievable, but we ain't even halfway done yet. We're not even a quarter of the way done yet. There's so much more that we have left to do.
I'm going to be 80 years old when I finally put the last nail in.
There's never
and I'm going to look up, and you'll be like, well, and I'll be like, it's been 84 years. Oh, in 84 years, how old am I going to be? I think I'm going to be ready to just...
You're going to be Moses' age. We've just made it to the kitchen a couple of videos back. Everything we're doing on a budget, which brings me to a question that was asked in the comments of the last video. I'm going to put it here to the side. Shane and I are going to get out of the way here. Somebody asked how much we had spent on the island, and I wanted to break that down. I hadn't done that yet at the time of them asking that, but I promised them I would add it into this video. I'm going to break it down by countertop and then by base, and then we'll add those two together here. The countertop alone saved us a crap ton of money because I got a quote for over $5,000 for this kind of countertop.
And that was just for the top.
And that was just the countertop itself. So I know we saved quite a bit. I just don't know how much here, but I know how much there. And this is the total cost of everything. And I'll put, done, future Merina. Do that right there. Put it right there. I'll put how much we saved. I'll tell you about how much I think that we saved by doing it this way. I'll give you a ballpark. But everything we're doing on a budget. We're not buying stone cut marble. We're
making it.
Faking it till we make it.
No, we ain't faking it till we're making it. We're making it. There's faking it till you're making it just to get something done, and it's halfway done. But then there's faking it till you're making it, and that's just where replicate. I'm replicating. That's what you did, you replicated.
Yeah, we don't ever halfway do anything. If it's halfway done, it's just because we're ignorant when we're doing it. It's never on purpose. We got this centerpiece done in the kitchen. It's this huge 10-foot island.
It's so nice.
It is so nice. It's going to add so much storage. Today, we have to finish up this ceiling. There's a couple things I got to go over with you guys because the last time we touched on the ceiling, we had done a little bit to it, and we were waiting to get the top cabinets to bring the ceiling on, which is why there's a break. Shane, cameraman, go over there and show them the break here. You can see here the break, and we had to stop here because initially we didn't know how big the cabinets were going to be. We didn't know if we would have to get custom cabinets because the size of this double wide, our cabinets are on the bottom part of an arch, so these are actually really small cabinets. These are actually almost, what, 10 inches shorter than the average cabinet you buy at Lowe's. These are 24 inches. The average cabinet you buy at Lowe's is 30 inches, so this is 6 inches off, half a foot off of how big the cabinets are that you can buy in big box stores. So we kind of had to keep that in mind, and we were kind of worried that the ones we would get in the big box stores would be a little bit too big. So we kind of had to work it out in our mind before we finished this out and added the cabinets. Upon further investigation, we realized we didn't have to add the cabinets before we finished the ceiling here, because we're just going to bring it to the cabinets, but there's going to be plenty of area over here where it's going to keep going. So we really just needed the measurements for the cabinets, not the cabinets themselves, the new cabinets. We also got a really good idea from one of you guys about the placement of this refrigerator. We were going to just make a walk-in pantry in this little sliver of an area right here, but one of you guys gave me a great idea. You said, move the refrigerator, make that a bigger pantry, move the refrigerator over here. So we had to come up with an idea for refrigerator placement over here, because even though this is a very long wall, I kind of sort of have an open concept here, and you can see right through into the living room. So I can't block this off with a bunch of cabinets or a fridge. So I'm kind of in a pickle and kind of got to play with a design that accommodates the fridge, the oven, and the dishwasher, which is harder than you would think given the size of this wall. It's actually not that big, because you got the sink that has to be centered over here with this window. There's a window here in the sink. Obviously it would look off if the sink wasn't centered, so I've got to take that into mind. And then also there's a window over here that takes away a lot of the space, so I got to work around this window too. And apparently this treadmill that's never seen a light of day since I moved here, but
It all seems light.
I see plenty of light, just don't see any action. Me mentioning the ceiling is important because if you look up here, you guys might have been able to tell that I picked a very, very warm color. Sometimes it doesn't come across on camera how warm it actually is. It's actually really, really warm. Like we're talking Sahara Desert warm. And I have soft white recessed lighting in that. The soft white recessed lighting does not do in this house what it did in the single wide. In the single wide, I was able to use the soft white recessed lighting because there's a lot of neutrals in our house. It was great. I could play it. I could play off the gray in it or play off the beige in it. Here I don't have any grayish. I went on a totally different color scheme, and I did that because of the state of my floors. My floors are a lot warmer than I anticipated it. I bought them online. Don't buy your floors online. I love my floors, they're beautiful, but the warm lights really accentuate the warmness in the floors, and I don't like that. It gives it almost a honey oak, like one of them 1990s honey oak feel. So I've got to use colors like the Oyster Bay paint that is my accent color throughout my house, that green gray color. I have to use that to play against the color of my floor so that it makes it look not so orange. You gotta play with the color wheel when you're playing in your house. Like, it's literally just like art class, like high school art class. You gotta play with the color wheel and everything, because colors look different against other tones and colors and stuff like that. So with that being said, while I did pick the ceiling color to match the floor color, I don't like the ceiling color, and I can't get it to match up because half of this was done one way and half of it was done another. Here on the right, you can probably see it's a lot darker than it is over here. There's a lot of different tones going on, and the floor is already super busy. I don't want a whole lot of business on the ceiling. So we're gonna go with one tone up on the ceiling. It's going to be a lighter tone, and it's in this family. This color is actually Pecan in Sherwin-Williams. It's a solid stain by Minwax. We're going to go in that same family, but we're going to mute it down and do a not so orange color, and I think I went with weathered oak if I'm not mistaken. I think that changing the color of the ceiling and then changing the lights from the soft white to cool white will really help me when it comes to this warmness, because I'm not a fan of the orangey color, and I'm not a fan of the really warmness. I like warm tones, just not a whole lot. I'm thinking that will help. I'm not one to go to the daylight light bulbs. I don't want to feel like a psych ward in here. So I'm going with the best of both worlds, and I'm going with cool white versus the soft white or the daylight. We're coming with a happy medium, compromising and going with the cool white to see if that mutes everything out and gives us a more not so orangey hue in the house. I think it'll look really good against the green gray, and I think it'll look really good against the pure white paint from Sherwin-Williams. Before we get too busy with starting on the ceiling, we're gonna go ahead and make sure that we have everything set in stone as to how we're putting everything on this wall here, I've got to make sure I know exactly where the dishwasher is going and exactly where the fridge is going to, because we don't want to get midways in this and then be like, oh snap, it don't fit there. So we need to do some last minute measurements just to make sure our measurements before we're good and okay and ready to go. So we're rechecking and rechecking and rechecking our measurements, not because Shane's not good at measuring. He's amazing at measuring. But for some reason, if you've been here and you've watched some of this playlist, you know that when I see 5 inches, I see 5 feet. So I'm constantly arguing with him about how long or wide or high something is. So I'm always like, okay, can you take those just again? Can you get those measurements just again, just one more time? So we did measurements, I don't know how many times. Right now we're pulling out the dishwasher because this dishwasher is significantly smaller than the new one. This one is almost like the size of like a camper style dishwasher or something like that. It's very narrow, very little, and it's an older one. So we had to pull it out to make sure that the hookups were the same for the modern dishwasher, which they are. And then I had to kind of rethink my design a little bit because of the fact that that dishwasher is a lot narrower than the new one, and there's only a little bit of space between the stove and the sink. And there's actually even less space than what you see right now between the stove and the sink, because when they put the oven range hood up, they botched the circle for in the ceiling for like the vent to go up. So it's not centered with the oven where it's at right now. It's actually towards the left. So it's an even smaller amount of space between the sink and the oven than I thought. Not only was it not centered with the placement of the oven whenever we moved here and the cabinet space, but the hole for it could fit me through it. Like I could get through that hole. Not really. I mean, that's a little bit of an exaggeration, but it's a really big hole for a little bitty like aluminum foil, what's it called? Circle? Aluminum foil accordion is what we're going to call it. Those, you know, those accordion like things that go vent duct things. It's way too big for that. So like there was so much space in the ceiling hole that was just unnecessary. So we kind of had to work around that and figure out where exactly the duct was on the inside of the roof to make sure that we were going to be level and we were going to have it aligned with the stove. Mind you, we didn't know a lick of this at this point. We were just like, oh, we're going to take down the cabinets. You know how it is when we start we're overly optimistic, which is a good thing, I guess, whenever we start a project. So we're like, this is going to go great. Then we get in the middle of a project and we're like, oh snap, we always run into something. You can actually see here, since we've got the cabinet cleared, that the aluminum accordion goes at a slant. The range itself, like the hood range, is like to the right and the hole in the ceiling is to the left, so it's literally going in at a slant. So I had to rethink all of the kitchen design because at this point I was like, snap, I'm gonna have to move the stove over to the left, and that's gonna give me little to no room for a dishwasher. Like I'm not gonna have any room whatsoever for a dishwasher between the sink and the oven. So that means I gotta put the dishwasher on the opposite side of the sink, which makes me rethink everything when it comes to the design, because then where's the fridge gonna go? This is where the fridge was gonna go. So I had to do some major reevaluating. I had to do some major redesigning, and I had to come up with a system to where everything was where it needed to be and easily accessible for me to use the kitchen. But I didn't want to, you know, have the fridge right next to the oven, because the oven gets really hot and there's supposed to be a certain amount of space between the oven and the fridge. And if I were to put the oven close to the fridge, I'd have to do a little sliver of countertop, and I don't like the way that looks, especially since I'm not going to have a lot of countertop on the other side of the oven. So I had to come up with a system to where I had enough counter space just here. I don't need a whole lot because we have the island, but I need a little bit to work on over on this side, right? Food prep and stuff like that, dishes, things that it requires a little bit of counter space. So I had to kind of figure out what would maximize my counter space over here, but would also be easily accessible for me when it comes to using the kitchen, because that's what it's all about, right? We just want the kitchen usable. If it's pretty now, that's great, but at the end of the day, it needs to be usable. So we had to just figure out a whole design that would maximize both counter space, cabinet space, and then also, you know, make sure that my appliances are near enough to each other so that I can just easily navigate this side of the kitchen. It being more open concept now really affected my decisions when it came to where I was placing what, because if I hadn't have had it open concept, I could have taken the cabinets all the way to the other wall and then some. But now I have this opening there, so it's like, where do I stop? You know, where do the cabinets stop? Where do I put the fridge? I've got to make sure that when I stand at my back doors, my French doors, and I look into my house, that like I don't look into the kitchen and just see like a big old wall of fridge right there. So it's a whole thing, and I've changed it 1,000 times, but I think I have it in my mind. and on paper a way that it's going to look good and it's going to be accessible. It's going to be easy for me to move around in here, and that's, at the end of the day, that's all I really need. If I were to go off of how it looks and just the vibe of it and the decor style and things like that, then I would get super frustrated, because if I'm focusing on that, I'm not focusing on getting actual use out of this kitchen. So I prioritized accessibility, functionality, navigation, things like that over the decor and the design, because I know at the end of the day, this kitchen services our family, and I wasn't willing to compromise that. It doesn't matter how cute it looks, how Pinteresty it looks, or anything like that, if it ends up working like a dollhouse, right? If nothing's functional. Like, if it's just there for looks, it's not really servicing anybody. So I focused on the main things, what I need to get done in this area of the house, and then I just added in some decor styles and some designs that I thought would look really neat, and hopefully it works out. You can see the hole that I was telling you guys about just a few minutes ago, and like I said, I was exaggerating when I said I could get through it. I couldn't get my forearm through that. But it was too big than necessary. So that is something that we had to work around. And then this backsplash. So we didn't take the left side backsplash off. If it sounds like I'm struggling for air, it's because I am. I'm laying on my belly while doing this voiceover, and I'm crushing my lungs. But we didn't do the left side backsplash just because we're not there yet. But we did go ahead and take this backsplash down. And in order to not just make a drywall mess and do a bunch of patchwork and stuff, we just went with the box cutter and we went around the entire perimeter of the backsplash and just removed the whole panel. That way we weren't working with a chisel and a hammer and chiseling stuff away, making a big old mess, and then just tearing up the wall. This way we had it down to the studs and we could just easily replace the drywall in this area. The good thing about it is there's going to be cabinets here, there's going to be new backsplash here, so all that's going to be covered. I just needed something up for right now. That way we weren't down to the studs, and you know, it stayed that way for the next few days. We really did the bare minimum with the drywall replacing because we just had to get it done. I didn't want to do it right now anyway, but I had to because we were focusing on the hood range today. So in order to put the hood range up, we needed to make sure that, you know, all this was done. That way we weren't trying to work around the hood range and possibly damage it or something in the middle of all this pulling and prying and breaking and all sorts of stuff with the backsplash. If it seems like the order in which we're doing stuff in this kitchen is odd, it's just because we have set things that we need to do, and then we have set things that we need to do before we need to do those things that we need to do, if that makes sense. So in order to get this hood range up, we had to fix this area of the wall. In order to get the ceiling, the rest of the ceiling done, we had to have the hood range up. So we're just literally notching stuff off as we go in order so that we don't have to come behind ourselves and work around stuff we've already done. Obviously we'll have to come behind ourselves and do the backsplash, but we won't have to do demo around things we've already done and potentially mess something up and stuff. So Shane got the drywall up. We took the cabinets down and we had to take the backsplash down and put this up because the range hood thing is going there. That doesn't have to get joint compound yet because tile is going to be over that, so grout is going to be over that and stuff. Not right now, but in the future, so we don't have to worry about drywall tape, joint compound, and all that stuff. Now we just need to get this range hood up so that we can finish off the ceiling here. I found this oven hood range. I never know what they're called. Oven hoods, oven ranges, oven hood range cover. I have no idea. But I found this one on Home Depot and it was like just over $100. It is smaller, so I think this one is 30 inches, but it's perfect for the size of this kitchen. Alright, this is going to look a little wacky, but the stove is not centered with the hole up there. It's a manufacturing thing, so we have to make our hood range centered with that hole up there and not the oven, because once we replace these cabinets, the oven is going to be scooted over a little bit anyway. Until we get these cabinets down here installed, it's going to look a little funky, but just know we're going off of that hole in the ceiling and not where the stove is placed right now. In love to get some of the blue stuff out of the crevices?
Yeah.
That's such a pain in the butt.
I'm having to take a razor blade to get it out.
Oh my gosh, it looks so pretty.
You like it?
Once, like I said, the oven, I love it. The oven's going to be centered, so it's going to move that way a little bit more, so it's not going to look so off-centered.
I had to get my degree in ductwork.
You did good.
Well, actually, I already had it.
Love ya. Thankfully, Shane had all the knowledge and stuff because of his line of work.
I knew what to do, but I had to apply what I knew how to do to a double wide. A little different.
Okay, so right here, you guys can see it looks like I've been smearing red clay on the ceiling. That's not what I've been doing. Love you, be careful. That is not a pastime of mine. I don't just spread red clay mud on the ceiling. However, I have been playing with the tone of that pecan color solid stain. It's not working out. It's not working out. We can see we've got 3 different colors here. We've got the color over here, which is the light, which is the darker color. We got the color over here, which is the dark color, and then we got the color right here that's the lighter color. Listen, I love that solid stain. This is the first project I've ever used that on, and I love it a lot. But I will say, it's a pain to get the same tone throughout the ceiling. So we're gonna just go, cause I was doing a whole method you guys saw in the last videos. I was staining it and then going over that stain with something, then going over that stain with something, then a gel stain, pre-stain before all that, all sorts of things. There were so many steps to get this color. It just was not sustainable. Dang, you found it! Good job, baby. It just was not sustainable for me to do every single one like that. So I'm just going to do solid stain. Nothing else, nothing more, nothing less, just solid stain. And hopefully it'll be the same consecutive, is that the right word? The same consecutive color throughout the entire ceiling. So we're gonna wait to do that until we get the rest of this ceiling right here done, and then we'll stain it. And then we've got those other lights that we've got to put in because these are really warm. You can tell it's playing off the doors and the ceiling. Very orange. I think it looks like I'm chasing the gnat on the thing. I think that once we get those lights and once we change that stain, I think that's gonna kind of put away my warm blues, I should say. You guys actually can't tell how actually warm it is because I have the settings fixed on my camera because it was looking like we were in the Sahara all the time and it was driving me crazy. So I have my settings on my camera to make it come across as cooler than it actually is, but it is very, very warm white, like soft white light bulbs. You know the antique-y looking white bulbs? That's the hue of light it is in here at all times, especially at night. And we're just not a fan of that. I like bright. I like to be able to see. I can only see out of one eye, so I need the light to aid me. So I need it bright and white in here. So we're finishing out the ceiling, which is why we had to go ahead and get that oven range hood thing up. And then we're finishing out the ceiling, and then we're going to go in with just one color, which is the weathered oak solid stain. And I'm not doing any other steps with that solid stain. I'm just doing that solid stain so that it will be the same color. Basically, it won't be so many different tones of wood, because that's, I mean, at the end of the day, I was having to do 5 or 6 steps on one piece of wood, and it just wasn't coming out, and it was like the same, and it was looking really busy. And my floor is super, super busy. It's got so many tones and things going on in it. I don't need that with my ceiling too. So we're finishing out the ceiling and then just using the weathered oak stain. It is basically the pecan color, just a more neutral, not orange color. It's in the same color family. You couldn't even tell a difference hardly on camera, but in person you can, because you can see here on the right there, it's very warm, and then what we're putting on now is more of a taupey color. It's not so warm brown. It's like a taupey, a light taupey, milky brown color, if that makes sense. It goes so well with the other stain toys throughout my living room, and the colors and the brick and everything. It just looks really pretty. It gave me that dark dimension I wanted on my ceiling to kind of separate my kitchen ceiling from the rest of the house, but it didn't make it so dark that it felt like a dungeon, and it didn't give off such a warm hue with those lights that it made it feel like a hot dungeon. A warm dungeon. Usually I'm the painter because that's about all I can do. Like, that's all I know how to do, and I'll help in any way I can, and Shane don't like painting, so I'm kind of like the painter and the stainer and stuff like that. But I can't look up for long periods of time. It actually causes my eyesight to go completely out, and then I have like whole issues. Like, it's a whole thing. So Shane actually had to come through and do the work and the painting in this project, and can I just say thank you, Jesus, for this man, because I did not hear not one complaint, and that's just amazing to me. He teaches me all the time. He teaches me through his actions all the time. I tell you guys, the first ever real look into Jesus's heart I ever got was through Shane. I never knew the love of Jesus really until Shane kind of showed me that, and I learned that through his example that, you know, Jesus is loving and understanding and kind, and everything that I thought he wasn't, he was, kind of thing. Shane really led me to Jesus. He led me to the real Jesus, the unconditional love Jesus. He was my doorway to him. So I learned the love of God through him a long time ago, but he keeps teaching me stuff every day, and his patience with me is teaching me to be patient with him. Because like I said, I argue till I'm blue in the face about measurements, and I know good and well I don't know nothing about measurements, and I know good and well Shane knows it all about measurements, but yet I still argue and I still complain about stuff, and I'm still like, check it again, check it again, check it again. Yet he will come through every single time and not complain once. So he's teaching me in a different area of our life now to be better in another way, and I love that. I love that I have a true partner in the fact that he continues to help better me and to lead me and to guide me into the right direction and to be a good example for me, because by nature I'm argumentative. I'm not so much anymore, you know, that Jesus transformed my life, but there's still those little quirks in me that come out every now and then, like arguing about the measurements. I don't throw hands no more, but I can argue about measurements. So it's evolving. It's just a slow evolution.
Get all cleaned up and put away. Call it a day.
You can see here why I wanted to go with this one. This one's brighter and not so orange. Remember, this doesn't come across as orange as it actually is on camera. It's very, very orange. So this is a huge change. I like this one way better. I can't wait for y'all to see the next part of the kitchen. It's so exciting. Thank y'all for hanging out with me. I hope you have a blessed morning or not, whatever it is, wherever you're at. Know that I love you, but Jesus loves you so much more. I will see y'all in the next one.